Hey, I'm going to show you some updates I've made to Chord Palette. Chord Palette is a MIDI transform device that I made in Max for Ableton Live 12 and above. I'll link to a demo of the previous version below, which shows you all the main features. I'll assume you've seen that or used this already. First of all, just a quick visual improvement is when you click one of these buttons, it turns yellow, so it's a bit more obvious what the last chord you selected is. Plus, if I move one of the invert controls, for example, it will highlight that chord. So it's just a bit of a quality of life improvement visually. One thing I'm really excited to show you is the new ARP mode, and I put that where the oct control was before, so you can see now there's also ARP. To demonstrate this, I'll just clear this and I'll use it on this major 7 chord. The ARP control will cycle through different steps in the chord. It'll start from a different position. It's up with positive ARP values, but you can go negative as well, and it will do ARP down. You might have also noticed that when you make ARP non-zero, it opens up this other control pat for pattern. That changes the timing of the ARP control. It doesn't change the order of the notes. As I said, you got to use ARP to do that. This changes the timing control. So really, as you can see now, Chord Palette doesn't just do static chords. It can also do little riffs and sequences. And that ARP pattern will apply when I click the button for that channel. So if I just go back to major, it's just a normal major chord. But then when I click major 7, it applies that pattern we had before. Now you can vary that pattern quite a lot with different combinations of inv. So let's just reset that. Now the ARP control is dependent on the number of notes in the chord already. And once you go beyond a certain point, it'll start stacking up notes at the start. Let's just change the pattern. And it will keep cycling through different combinations of chords, or combinations of notes, I guess. This would be a good time to say that the sequence or ARP length depends on the original note's length. So let me just clear that. See how it's staying within the bounds of that original note. If I want to just reset things, there's these save and load controls, which means I can export and import presets for Chord Palette basically. And if I shift click load, it reloads the original clean slate, basically. Just the original default 9 pages I came up with, possibly with the help of ChatGPT. Another feature I'm excited to show you is the chord progression mode. So what I've done is I've just put 4 notes here, keeping it simple, keeping it in C major just to make the point. And before I do anything, I'm just going to change these chords here. So I'm going to make this one major and this one minor. Now you might think, why would I do the same chords as the first two? Well, that's because when I put chord progression mode on, it cycles through it cycles through all the 6 chords, depending on how many input notes you have, and applies the chords accordingly. And you can even adjust inv and other things. Plus, here's something you couldn't do before, but you can only do in chord mode, is if I change this one, it'll update to that chord in real time. You don't have to click the button. In fact, if you click the button, it gets you out of the chord prog mode. Because I figured when you click a button, you're deciding, okay, I want to go back to just applying a single chord. And you'll notice prog is now off. But I can flick it back on, and then that progression will be there again. With that in mind, I'm going to also show you how you can maybe ARP that chord. So the chord prog mode also works with sequences. That means you can create some kind of cool little complex patterns on the fly just by juggling all these things. And don't forget, you can click there to randomize these things. Also, if you want to reset them, just double click the number. So double click that and it resets it to 0, or double click Pat and it resets it to 0, which is just the normal up. But obviously, because this one's on 12, it looks a bit different. We'll put that just on 1. Then it's the normal ascending up. And then again, if I double click that, it's 0. So click the actual up text to randomize and double click to go to 0. If you have more than 6 notes, let me show you what happens. It'll wrap around and start going to the start. So I'll cook that up and then we'll jump back in. Okay, now let's highlight these, turn on prog. If I just move this one, you can see, okay, let's count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we roll back to the start, which is this one here. So when I move this, it'll update those chords, and you can see they're different notes because I started with different notes, and the chord updates differently, and then we can up that and get pretty crazy. Let's drive that right up. So the chord prog mode can lead to some really interesting experimental moments. This would be a good time to turn on scale, which now updates in real time. And you can see the moment I click that on, it sort of adjusted all the notes just to be in the scale, which is C major. As I said, I'm keeping it simple. And once again, I can just make changes. So I'm just not seeing it do any sharps or flats. I've also just tightened up some of the patching and coding, removing some redundancies. So it's working a bit smarter now. It's actually had quite a fundamental overhaul in the structure in terms of how it works under the hood. With that in mind, if there's anything a little bit out or majorly different from before, I'll look into it. As a reminder, it's an Ableton MIDI transform device. The instructions for installing it and getting it to work will be in the download. I haven't actually got anyone else to test this version yet, so I'm just going off how it works on my end. If it works for you, please comment, please subscribe and like the video. Follow me on Instagram as well. I really appreciate that. Got a few other things you can check out that are also either transform or generate devices that I've made for Ableton Live 12 and above. Okay, that's enough from me. Thanks for watching.